Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and today I am going to make a USA 2 size stair step card. This is the first time I am making this style of card, but I've seen it before and I found a tutorial from Sam Calcott of Made to Surprise. She makes a larger size card, so I thought I would try to adapt it to a USA 2 size card because that's what I generally like to create most of the time. So I'm starting off with a piece of cardstock that has been cut down to 5.5 inches tall by 6 7/8 wide. So it's 5.5 tall by 6 7/8 wide. And what I'm gonna do is make two pencil marks, one that's 1 7/8 inch down from the top, and then I'm gonna make another pencil mark that is 1 7/8 from the bottom up. So they both are 1 7/8 inch. One is measured from the top and the other is measured from the bottom. And then using my T-square ruler, I'll just go ahead and draw a line at those pencil marks all the way across. So those are horizontal lines that I drew. And next I'll start to do some scoring. So the pencil marks are great so that when I go to do the scoring, which is going to be a little bit tricky because you're not going to score all the way down the entire height of the card. So here's all of the dimensions. We've got our card base that's cut to 5.5 high by 6 1/8. The purple lines are the two pencil lines that I drew in that were 1 7/8 from the top, 1 7/8 from the bottom. And here are the score lines. So starting from the left, that's at the 5.5 inch mark because my 0 is from my right side. That only goes down to the first pencil mark. The next score line is 4 1/8, but that goes from the top down to the second pencil mark. The third score line is at 2 3/4, and that's from the first pencil mark all the way down to the bottom. And then the last score line starts at the second pencil mark and goes all the way down at the bottom at the 1 3/8 inch mark. Where you see green, that's where we're gonna cut. So hopefully take a screenshot of this diagram if that makes it easier for you to, if you want to try this card, to sort of figure out what all I'm doing, because as I'm scoring, you're not going to really be able to see the score lines very well because it's just white cardstock, but hopefully that diagram helps. And ultimately, this is what we want. So let's actually do the scoring now. So that first score line is at 5.5 inch. If your scoreboard actually starts on the left, then that would be 1 3/8. The next score line for me is going to be at 4 1/8, and it starts from the top and goes down to the second score line. Now, the easy trick of this is that you can actually, if you want, you can actually just turn your card base around 180 degrees and make those two exact same score lines. So for me, it's 5 1/2 and 4 1/8. The first one starting at the top going down to the first score line. The second one starting at the top going down to the second score line. And now we're going to make our cuts. So the cuts are always going to be on the pencil marks that we made. This first cut is going to go from the first score line that we put in to the third score line. And then you turn it around 180 degrees and you can replicate that exact same cut. So once you have those two slits, then it's a matter of doing an alternating mountain valley fold. And the way that I like to score my valley folds is to actually score from the back side. So what I've done is flipped it over to the back, and every other score line I've gone ahead and scored it from the back. And then you just want to ease each of these in, get each of the folds started. And once it's started, then you can really aggressively fold everything down flat and then burnish it. So all of this will fold down and still fit into a USA 2 size card, which measures 4¼ by 5½. And it extends and stands beautifully, and you get this really neat stair step design. So lots of fun. It looks a little bit tricky to cut and score, but once you get the hang of it, especially since this is mirrored so that all the score lines, you do half of it, you can turn it around and then make the exact same score lines. And same with the cuts. You get one cut in, you can turn it around and make that exact same cut. Now for your mats and layers. So you can just use strips, but if you want one solid piece of pattern paper or solid color cardstock to decorate each of the panels, you want to start with a piece that is 5¼ high by 3 7/8 wide. And then to make your stair steps, what I do is I just figured out how much of a border that I want visible. So I'm aiming for about 1/8 of an inch. And actually what I did was I held up a piece of copy paper and thin copy paper so I could see through it, and I just made some tick marks. And then that got me about close. So here what I'm going to start cutting is from the bottom up. I measured 1 5/8 inch up from that right hand edge, and then I cut a line that's 1 3/8 inch in towards the left side from the right edge. My next cut is going to go up a step, and so from where that cut line ended, I go up and cut 1 3/4 of an inch, and then I cut in 1 3/8 of an inch, and then I cut up 1 7/8 of an inch. And that gets me these measurements here. So in red, that's when I cut upwards, the vertical cut lines, and in blue are the horizontal cut lines. So we started with a piece that was 5 1/4 inch high by 3 7/8 inch wide, and I just cut this stair step according to these measurements. So 1 7/8 down from the top, and then cut over by 1 3/8 inch, cut down 1 3/4 inch, cut over 1 3/8 inch. And you'll need 2 pieces. So you can do the exact same cut and it will fit on both panels. You do want to make sure if you are using a paper that is directional that you are cutting it in such a way that the stair step design makes sense, because with the piece on the back, you have the stair steps are kind of in your bottom left-hand corner, whereas if you're cutting a piece of pattern paper for the front of your card, the stair steps are kind of, facing the upper right. So you do want to make sure that you're using you're cutting in the correct direction if you are using a directional paper. So again, doing the same thing. I like to start from the bottom and go up. So 1 5/8 inch from the bottom, I make a cut line that's 1 3/8 into the paper. Then from where that cut line ends, I cut up 1 3/4 of an inch. And then I cut in 1 3/8 of an inch from where that line ended. And then my final cut is 1 7/8 inch, so all the way to the edge. And that's going to leave you a border all the way around both the outer edge as well as along the edge that has the stair steps. So now if you only want a border that's around the outside of the card and not on the stair step portion, then you can catch my live stream that was on May 10th, because I cut my mats and layers a little bit differently. I did this card first just as a practice run for my live demo, and I like the look of it, but for the papers that I chose on my other card, I wanted to have the pattern paper go all the way to the edge of the steps and not have a white border there. So you can definitely cut it down however you like and get some different looks from that. And here I've colored up. I've already stamped and colored and fussy cut the Cozy Forest Friends, which is from the Not Too Shabby shop. And I didn't think that I would use all of them. I colored up all of them just to have some choices, especially since I just did some selective coloring to keep the overall color palette of the card really simple with just these light blues and pinks. But I ultimately did find a place for all 5 of these critters. And I thought the little stair step areas there that pop out, they're really great for adding additional sentiments, which I did here, and even hiding some of your critters. So that's how I was able to fit some of the extra. I thought I was only going to use 3, but I found some extra hiding places to fit in some more of those critters. And that's one of the things that's really neat about this card design, because you can, as with all pop-up cards, I think there's a little bit of that surprise element to it. And just depending on what angle you're viewing this card at, you will see different things. Because if you're just viewing it from the very front, you're probably just going to see the main 2 critters here. But as you walk over and kind of catch it from the side, you'll see these 2 additional critters that are on the side steps. And then I wanted to have this bear kind of peeking out from around the corner. And that way you kind of see him when the card is closed. But once it's open, you'll be able to kind of see more of him. And that also kind of piques your interest and hopefully like makes you turn the card so that you actually look and then you find the other 2 critters as well. So love this style of card. It can be a little bit tricky to score and cut, but I think once you get the hang of it, it can be a lot of fun. And the mats and layers, if you want to keep it simple, you could just cut down strips and decorate each step with a different strip of pattern paper, or make 3 steps that are 3 different colors. So that would definitely be a lot easier than getting one solid piece. So that's another option as well. When I looked at my card, I felt like it was missing something. I felt like it needed a larger sentiment. And so I found this snow. It's a great, it's nice and bold. And it's large, and I love that it's actually got a little bit of a stair step design to it. So I thought it fit really perfectly with this style of card because it's already got a little bit of that. They're actually called, I think, cascading phrases from Crafter's Companion, and I have quite a few in a different number of phrases. And then in the stamp set that comes with it, there are additional not quite sub sentiments, but just to help you kind of fill out the word snow. So for example, I chose "Let It Snow." The sentiment that I chose from the Cozy Forest Friends stamp set, it actually reads, "No winter is too cold when you have enough love." So I thought combined with "Let It Snow," "No winter is too cold when you have enough love," those 2 seem to match pretty well and make some logical sense. So I thought pairing them would be really nice. And that's basically it. So once you've gotten past that hard part of scoring and the cuts, the decorating is a lot of fun because there's lots of different little ways that you can hide additional little messages, additional stamped images, and little scenes even. So it's a lot of fun and definitely makes for a special card. Stands really beautifully and of course is, really lovely to put on display. So that is my USA 2 size stair step card. I hope you'll give it a try. And if you do, please join my Facebook group. It's Crafty Fun with Friends of LV Handcrafted, and I would love to see your makes. Thanks so much. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.